Okay, beautiful. Okay, so here we are. We are together now, and the this meeting is recorded on YouTube. We can watch it later if we're interested in doing so. So welcome, and if you have any questions, anything you want to contemplate, explore.
You mean we could just jump right in with a question?
Jump right in.
Well, I've been having conversations with a lot of different friends, and some people have different languages. Some people have Vedanta language. Some have kind of Sufi, almost devotional-ish, yet non-dual at the same time, and Buddhist. And then some people I've been talking with are trying to avoid any kind of formal language at all, at all. In terms of if you want to thoroughly know that you understand, I'll call it our subject, that you take a stab at completely expressing your understanding and even your questions in completely your own words, not in the words of a pre-established vocabulary or system. And I just kind of wonder what you think of that.
So you're talking about expressing your understanding about consciousness, yes?
Yes.
Okay, and so one question is, to whom are you expressing it?
Well, but the answer is it's kind of just kind of like fun, like saying like spontaneous poetry from a mountaintop, perhaps.
Yes.
And then if someone else,
but it flows freely.
Yes.
It doesn't flow from any center. It flows out of itself.
That's the best.
And in this sort of expression, there is no other. It's all love. It's not trying to impress, trying to show. Of course, if there is a question, it's different. If there is a question, then there is a listening to the question and a sort of a listening and being a channel to the answer.
I see. Yes. In which case, it makes perfect sense to have some kind of a vocabulary that is commonly understood to go deeper with into clarity.
Yeah, sure, because what we're trying to express is inexpressible. And so there is imagery that alludes, that sort of invites your attention to what you already know, what that is what you are. So it's sort of There are words about consciousness that don't invite the mind. They don't invite the argumentative mind. They may invite a higher reasoning, which is a faculty of the mind to contemplate consciousness.
Right.
But it's not an invitation of the mind to raise or to argue. And yes, there are many different ways of expressing the revelation of the self. Ultimately, we are trying to express the inexpressible, but the ways of expressing it are they allude. The expressions allude. They
allude to.
Yeah. They allude to that which cannot be known by the mind, but that knows the mind. It knows perceptions, sensations.
And it seems to be such a conceptual realm, and the path through which individuals have come. Provisionally, I'm saying individuals have come to their understanding. Sometimes it's humorous to see clashes of concepts between people who seem to be very clear about what they actually do understand.
Well, ultimately, your tradition is transcended.
That's so great, because everything has to be transcended, you know. And just again, I'm happy to I'm happy to hear your spaciousness on this subject, like all subjects, like all issues.
In the traditions, they're vehicles in a way. They're not the destination. They're not the goal. They're not they're not the revelation. They're various means of journeying, of turning one's attention towards a reality. And for example, you could say that the student-teacher relationship is a tradition that also gets transcended. Because in consciousness, in the ultimate revelation of consciousness, there isn't somebody who knows and somebody who does not know. There is just the revelation of the reality of consciousness that is universal, that I, meaning universal I, not personal I, that I, universal I, am. From the mind's point of view, there is someone who knows and someone who knows more and so on. There may be some distinctions and some measurement and some evaluations that still refer to a sense of incompleteness at home.
Yeah. Yes.
And it is out of love and out of a recognition of our shared wholeness, that a sage shares when the sage is asked a question or feels that there is some room for him or her to share. And so it's an offering, it's a gift from beyond. And at some point, it's just a silence.
I like. I think you said earlier something to the effect that it's all love expressing itself, and it sounds right. It's very beautiful.
Yes, because in love, I am you, and you are I. In love is this ocean of bliss that we are, that I am. And there are no limits to love. There are limits to personal love. You know, I love you, but I don't love her. I love her, but I don't love him, etc. You know, or I love him more than. But we call that love, but in a way that's a misnomer, because whenever we add any personal limitations or conditions to that which is limitless, we're no longer talking about quality of consciousness. We're talking about the conditional realm. So what matters, you know, in your path is that you recognize what resonates for you. And also to notice when the mind is engaged, because that's really not what the contemplation is about. It's about the heart, not the mind, which is love, peace, beauty, happiness.
I heard something beautiful. One of my friends said that research shows that in embryo state, infant, babies before they're born, there's a moment when the heart and the mind are both activated. A simultaneous moment, which is beautiful to me. And that's apparently Ramana would put, when somebody was died in his presence, he would put a hand on the heart and a hand on their head as a way of, as a comforting on the way out.
You know, consciousness is wholeness. There are no divisions, no real divisions. No, there are no divisions in wholeness, in reality, in truth, in beingness. So when we talk of the mind, we're referring to thought. And when we talk of the heart, we're referring to beingness, love, presence. But the impression of separation, when there is this separate consciousness, when there is this thought, that I am dependent on the body-mind.
Mm-hmm.
That thought doesn't create any real separation.
Mm-hmm.
It creates a malaise,
Mm-hmm.
an unhappiness,
Mm-hmm.
a sense of an angst,
Mm-hmm.
but not a real separation, not a separation.
Mm-hmm.
So separation is just an illusory impression. So the heart and the mind
Mm-hmm.
are not separate, like the galactic space and the galaxies within that space are not separate.
Mm-hmm.
Like the distant galactic fields and the tide, the pull of the moon, the tide, pull, the gravitational pull around the Earth, they're not separate.
Mm-hmm.
There may be some intricate equations, scientific equations that may demonstrate to you the interrelationships. Not that I know them, or not that I know that they exist, but there are mathematical models that are possible that may describe this interrelation.
Mm-hmm.
So the heart and the mind are not separate. When we speak of residing at the mind and not taking one's contemplation to the heart level, we're talking about remaining in thought and argumentation. My point of view, his point of view, etc. This sort of a journey in thought in which there is an impression of a separate consciousness, meaning a consciousness that is dependent on a personal body-mind. And therefore another consciousness, another body-mind consciousness out there. But Ramanas, when Ramana places his hand on the heart and on the mind, he does so out of a place that is not a result of any thinking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like when mothers soothe the
Yes,
baby.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. That's yes, absolutely. The mother knows how to, whatever she does.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 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 yes. That's absolutely.
Well, this is great. This is a great to get your um, what you're saying on this whole
Yeah,
subject.
yeah. I think it's a phase in the maturing of one's understanding to see this aspect of oneself that's still a residue, some sort of residual impression that's holding on to an understanding and that's defending an understanding.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's
And then this feeling because why why do that? That's not the highest. If you love truth, then why even though it's a beautiful formulation.
right. I mean, people come from various traditions and there are various conditions, and there is in many traditions, and I'm sure you're aware of them, like for example in the Zen tradition, the enlightened one, you know, the Roshi, the teacher, the enlightened one, the awakened one. So there is that persona, that spiritual persona that's out in the space. That's also one of the identities, one of the identifications. I mean, I personally know it in first-hand experience, but so the non-dual teaching, Advaita, is a direct pointing to the reality of consciousness, the reality and universality of consciousness. So it's a direct pointing to the heart, to what we truly are and what we truly love, which is freedom, beauty, peace, and happiness.
Well, this brings me up a question. When there are lots of people in a role that you could call a teacher role in this world. I mean, it's a huge thing from grade school and arts. You know, it's just a huge presence in life in the world. And now somebody who has understanding of the self, call it, is in a teacher, often in a teacher role, and then sometimes I almost think that that's a limitation in itself. A teacher role looks like a role and a limitation, and yet if there's innocence, so to speak, if it's when it's real, then I guess it's just what it is. And I remember back in the '60s, there used to be some of the teachers who were here. They would get together on a stage, or they'd be at a festival or something, and just laughing and just kind of laughing and slapping each other on the back. And now it seems like a lot of the people in a teacher role, maybe it's because of the internet, are sort of seem to be kind of posturing with their
you cannot fool a bee with an artificial flower. And it's going to go to the rose, or it's going to go to the hyacinth, it's going to go to the flower, and the flower has no personal intention.
Right.
It's a cosmic intention to pollinate, and so the perfume of the flower, the colors of the flower, the feels, how the bee can sort of detect the flower field from a distance.
Yes.
All of that is the cosmic intention of play, creativity, play, freedom, joy. Yes? But you can make a plastic flower, make it as red as you want. The bee is not going to come to it. You see? But there isn't like only one flower. If you look out, there are thousands of different expressions.
Yes, yes.
And every expression is unique and beautiful and lovely in its way. But it's important for it to be a real flower. Yes.
A real flower, and in the case of a relationship, a real flower that you like.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's a very simple version of the whole story.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Yes, absolutely. And in certain areas, a lot of sunflowers, and so the bees in the area come to that sunflower field. In other areas, maybe it's a poppy, and then the different types of bees or insects come to the poppy fields to pollinate and to so I wouldn't be so I would say maybe distracted by how many teachers and teaching whatever, you find your teacher and your teacher finds you. It's grace. It happens not at the mind level, it happens at the heart level in your contemplation. At some point there is a relationship, a friendship, and a meeting at a level that defies description, really. And there is a recognition.
Now, this is a really kind of a subtle point, and kind of out there, but the philosophy that a particular teacher uses, refers to have some consistency in what's being discussed. You know what I mean? Like an easy route back to like you say, back to self-recognition. May, in a sense, just defend it or whatever, and that's all part of the. That's maybe part of, or emphasize it. I'm thinking about Ted and how he just absolutely loves, Shankara and Gaudapada and stuff. It's just like he worships them. He's ecstatic with, even thinking of them.
Yeah.
And it's part of, and then when you come into his world, he takes you. It's like a stream, to jump into. I don't know. And different people have different routes that they share.
Yeah, but what really touches us it's as if it's beyond what is being shared. It sort of takes us to our knowingness, to a recognition, to our recognition, to happiness. It takes us to happiness. It takes us to peace. It opens our heart to the love, to the beauty. And that's what's wonderful. And of course, we can enjoy the phenomenal level as well. But when that other is absent, then the phenomenal level is flat. It's the sound of God, the presence of God, the voice of God that we love.
Thank you, Maggie.
Yes, it's good to see you, Ananda. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Yeah, so hello, Isaac. You write something. So, Isaac, you're right. Does happiness exclude sadness? Because one has an idea of what happiness is. There is a sadness, Isaac, that is sweet. There is a sweet sadness, which is this tender recognition of the love that we share, the love that we are. Some people come and go in our life, some friends, some pets, some. There is a very lovely meeting where we are together in love, together as one, together in this deep embrace of the heart. That is what we love. That is what we really enjoy. And so there is this sweet sadness, sort of that comes upon us. That is a recollection of this love. It's tender, sweet. And the mind hasn't grabbed it yet and made any story. And it's good when the mind hasn't yet come on board and made a story about why this, why that, and where is this and where is that. So when we make an idea about happiness, when we make an idea of what happiness is, it's still not happiness, because an idea about happiness is still it's a limited thing, because happiness has no limits. Happiness is just it has a vastness to it. It has no conditions to it. And when we have an idea about happiness or a concept about happiness, it's all concepts are limited. All concepts have certain parameters to them. But happiness has no limits and no parameters to it. So the sadness that I was speaking about has no limits to it. It's mysterious. It's like the mind cannot define it, cannot explain it. So it's not separate, it's not different from happiness. So happiness and that sweet sadness are not different. It's a recollection of love, the love that we shared. It's very beautiful.
Yeah.
Because there are no conditions to it. I don't need to be with you to feel my love for you, to feel that tenderness for you. I don't need to see you, to hold you, to have you, to it's completely free. And happiness is also that way. Happiness is complete freedom. It has no conditions that things should be that way, or my friends should be that way, or my life should be that way, etc.
Yeah.
So it's not opposed to happiness. The sadness and the happiness are not opposed. You see?
Because you say to yourself, because if you are happy, if you cannot be sad, or or you are not happy because you're sad, for instance. Evaluations that your mind make about.
Yes.
No, you are not happy because you feel sadness. No, maybe.
Yes. You see, that's how the mind looks at happiness. And the mind looks at happiness as an experience. So, okay, oh, I'm experiencing happiness.
Yeah.
Oh, now I'm experiencing more happiness. Oh, now I'm not experiencing happiness, I'm experiencing sadness. That's how the mind looks at happiness. But you see, the mind cannot know happiness. Because the way the mind knows happiness is in the absence of the mind. So in the absence of the mind, there is happiness. In the absence of conditions, in the absence of limitations, in the absence of all my history, oh, I like this and I don't like that. In the absence of the mind, happiness can shine. So when the mind says, oh, well, if I'm sad, I cannot, when I'm sad, then I'm not happy.
Yeah.
There is a claim, it's a false claim that the mind is making, that the mind knows happiness. You see, it's a tricky. You see.
You have an idea. You shouldn't be laughing. You should dance.
Yes.
You should talk to anybody. Laugh and laugh and laugh.
Yes. No, consciousness is complete freedom. If you contemplate consciousness, meaning the reality that perceives this perception, the reality of this experience, what is real, you come to consciousness, and you will find that consciousness is not a form, is not an object. Has no limitations like a
concept.
Yes, right, like a concept or a feeling or a sensation or an object. You see?
Yeah.
So you come to the vastness, meaning the freedom. Because freedom, you cannot say freedom is, okay, you can enjoy yourself in the United States, but you cannot go to Mexico. That's not freedom.
No.
You see? But that's how we are with the mind. You say, oh, you are American, you cannot go to, you are from Cuba, oh, you cannot go, you need a passport, a visa, blah, blah. They make it so complicated.
Yeah.
You say. But consciousness is freedom, not only to one nation or one experience. It's complete freedom. So freedom has no limitations. It's a complete, freedom is complete, you see. That's what's beautiful about freedom. So when we recognize ourselves as the freedom, then we are recognizing ourselves as happiness, freedom and happiness. Because without freedom, there cannot be happiness. You know, and freedom is happiness. So then, if freedom is happiness, then why cannot you be sad? You're free to be sad.
You're free to be sad.
Yes.
No.
You're free to be sad. You are free to be sad.
Says it's bad to be sad, you know. The mind says it's bad to be sad.
Yes.
It's bad to be sad.
Yes. As soon as the mind says
it's a problem,
it's bad, it's a problem, you are also choosing the freedom to believe the mind, to to say, okay, yes. It's your freedom to believe that it's a bad thing to be sad, and then you feel unhappy because every time you feel sad, you feel, oh God, I'm not happy, I'm miserable, and I shouldn't be sad, and you have internal conflict. And whenever you have internal conflict, you're not happy. So it's out of your freedom that you choose to be unhappy. But I would recommend to choose out of your freedom, because you are consciousness, you are complete freedom, to choose happiness, to choose, yeah, I can be sad, and it's not a problem. When I miss my mother, or like, I remember I went to my brother's funeral, you know, he died, and so I was standing there, and then at some point, my eyes swelled up, you know, and there was some tears. I was feeling this sadness, this love for him. It was perfect. There was no problem with it. Of course, 2 minutes later it was finished, or a minute later it was finished. So it's okay. There are no problems from the perspective of consciousness. But as long as you forget the freedom that you are, and you go into all the conditions of the mind, it's very complicated. Yeah.
Very complicated.
Love is very simple. It's direct. It doesn't require any logic to it. It doesn't require any reasons or any
evaluation.
No.
Comparing.
No. You recognize yourself as love. You recognize yourself as freedom, as consciousness, as presence. Because you see, love is not a thing, you know. It's not an experience, it's not an object. It's a quality of consciousness. At the heart level, it's love. At the mind level, it's wisdom and intelligence.
But it's not an experience.
No. Experiences are in time. They have a beginning and an end.
Okay. I see the difference.
Yeah. Experiences are some things that arise for you. But you are love. You are not an experience. Love means also peace, means happiness, means tranquility, inner tranquility. Which are qualities of consciousness that we forget when we identify as a body-mind. When we identify as a body-mind, then we forget that consciousness is universal and eternal. We think it's mortal. And there are all sorts of concerns, meaning thoughts and sensations that are unhappy, that arise in our space.
Yeah. Beautiful, Magdi.
Very lovely to see you, Isaac. Very lovely, yes. Hello, Renate. Renate, you're right. It seems to me that it is mostly habit that prevents me from being clear about who I am. How can I break the old habits? So, Renate, it's really important to be clear about what you love. If you love your habits, the main habit is this me, the me belief, the thoughts about me in time, me yesterday, me tomorrow, him and her and me. See, this is the main habit. I'm not talking about enjoying chocolate or enjoying a glass of wine. The main habit that gets in the way of our happiness is loving our story, our images, how people perceive us, our thoughts about ourselves. Or identification with the sensations we refer to as the body, me as a body. So it's important to be clear about what you love. Is it truth that you love? Is it consciousness that you love? Is it the reality? Your contemplation of truth? Or is it your person? Once it is clear for you, I'm sorry?
Yeah, I know it is clear, and but it's a kind of negative attachment to the person, I think. It's
Yes.
not that I love my person or what's connected with it, but it's a negative attachment to it that
Okay. It's the
worry about.
same. Negative attachment to the person or positive attachment to the person is the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same. To have a positive attachment to my self-image or a negative attachment to my self-image or my body or my life or my work or my family or etc. Or positive, it's the same thing. So it doesn't really matter the pole, the positive or negative pole. It is an interest in your person. You see, the people who love themselves, eat themselves too much, they say, oh, you know, how can I be free of, like, you know, loving myself so much, you know? And people who don't love themselves enough say, oh, how can I love myself more? It's not about that. It's not about reaching a balance in your self-love. It is about loving truth, loving consciousness, loving reality, loving that which you cannot see it with the senses or perceive it with the senses or think of it as an idea, but it's something that you can know directly as as yourself, as the presence that I am. And that presence that I am has no age, no form, no big, no short, no tall, no positive, no negative, no density, no viscosity. It's not getting bigger, it's not getting smaller, it's not aging, it's not born, it's not dead. That I am, that it's what perceives, what creates, what is. It's isness, but it's not something that is perceived by the senses, not known by the mind. Sometimes we say it's known as the heart, it's known as being. But these are language to sort of allude to something that you know as yourself, but not as an experience. But coming back to your question, Renate, it's important to notice whenever you are entertaining negative or positive personal thoughts.
Mm.
And to notice that whenever you are entertaining these positive or negative thoughts, there is a certain degree of unhappiness. You have to be able to see that for yourself. You have to see for yourself that whenever you're entertaining negative thoughts about yourself, or positive thoughts about yourself, or negative thoughts about somebody else, or positive thoughts about somebody else, there is a degree of unhappiness because there is an impression of separation there. And whenever there is an impression of separation, there is a sense of incompleteness that cannot be completed by the mind. Because the way the mind operates, it operates via the senses and via thought.
There's typing noises I hear. I think Lawrence is typing.
Yes, yes.
I'm distracted.
Oh, yes, yes.
Can mute him also.
Yes. Okay. So this should be better now, yes? So in noticing the unhappiness that comes along with the positive and negative thoughts, that's a very important feedback for you. Because contemplation of consciousness is the contemplation of happiness. Freedom, joy, beauty, love. Sometimes it is a trick of the mind to create a problem. And by creating a problem, it keeps itself in business. Since I have a problem with my negative image, let me see, I need to, how do I solve this problem? But this is the very mind that created these images. It's the mind is these images. What we refer to as the mind is the images. In the absence of images and thoughts, and what's the mind? You look at a tree, you say, okay, there is perception. It refers to consciousness. So the mind sometimes is this, what we refer to as the mind, can be a tricky process of, rather than just perceiving, it perceives and then it judges. And when it perceives and it judges, then it says, oh, well, there are problems. And of course, as soon as there are problems, then there has to be somebody that, that comes to fix the problem. The plumber, the mechanic, we have to call somebody. We have a problem. Come and fix the door, come and fix the toilet. Come, you see? The lights are not working. So that's the trickery. That's the trickery of how the mind perceives. But in fact, if you look at your experience is just pure perception before the judgment. There is a perception that has no judgment, and then maybe the judgment comes. But there is a gap between your experience and the judgment and the spinning of the. But even the spinning of the thoughts that says, oh, this is bad, this is good, even then you could perceive that as you perceive. Sometimes you look at the sky and it's clear sky, sometimes you see some clouds, sometimes you see some big black clouds. What's the difference? It's a cloud. Okay, if it's blue or gray or dark gray, it's still a cloud. So in a way, you could perceive the sky from a neutral position. If the sky has a little bit of cloud or a light gray cloud or a dark gray cloud, you could perceive from a neutral position. Similarly, it is possible to, in your experience, to perceive even the mind. You can perceive the mind and not be moved by it. But in order to get to that, you have to first realize that there is a neutral dimension, an unstirred, unmoved, neutral dimension that to your experience. You have to realize that that's available to you, you see. Because if you don't realize it's available to you, you may think, oh my God, you know, I'm in deep trouble. There are all these problems that I'm perceiving. But when you realize that there is a possibility available to you, a place of complete neutrality where you are untouched, you're unmoved, it gives you that possibility of watching without being engaged and without engaging. So in a way, you are interested in being without engaging at the psychological level. Of course, if you are hungry, you make a salad, you have a good salad, no problem. I'm talking about in the psychological, at the mind level. You want to get to a place where you can watch what's going on, but Renate has no problem. You see?
Yeah.
You see? And that's possible for consciousness. Because Renate is consciousness. You see? You see? Consciousness is known by all names. Magdi, John, Jimmy, Billy, Renate, Ananda, etc. Isaac. It's known by all names. But it has no name, and yet it's known by all names.
Yes. I can see it now. Now I'm kind of detached from it, and I can see the mind's working, and
yes.
I don't have a problem with it. The problem is not here now, but there was 2 weeks before I was so entangled with this. I was contracted around this.
Yes.
Even though I know that I'm not this, but I couldn't get out of it, and I considered, I talked to a psychologist, and she said, "Oh, there's maybe strange energy from your old family." And I considered going back to therapy, but
Yeah.
but maybe that's also mind tricks. And,
Yeah.
because I know I can go endlessly there.
Yeah.
I
The,
can
the,
work endlessly to get
right.
better. But,
Yeah. The mind is always in business when there is a problem. When it gets out of business, then it has to find a problem. But it gets completely out of business when we realize that the mind is just images on the screen. I am not the mind. I am the knower of the mind, or you could say the witness of the mind, but I am not the mind.
so let him come.
Consciousness is limitless. It's an open, knowing field, an open, knowing field. It's consciousness that perceives this very moment. It's always consciousness. Which is freedom, peace. It's an open space. There's no problems. There's no identification. No, it's just everything is the self. Nothing is excluded. I am that. That's where all the problems come to their end. They dissolve in the ocean of presence. In this ocean, there is no time, no past, no future. It's complete freedom, you see, freedom from time and space.
I feel like your voice as my voice.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, yes, absolutely. I am. It's one I, one I, one amness. Yes, so fascinating. The voice, this voice speaks, and we speak it, and we hear it simultaneously. Yes, it's interesting. Consciousness is wonderful. It's the wonder, wonderful. Such wonder, such wonder. Just wonder, just amazing. You know, that there is this experience of being right now. It's so such wonder. Very beautiful talking to you, Renate. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. Okay. Are there any questions? Okay, well, if there are no questions, then I want to thank you for your beautiful company, and we will see you again sometime next week. Yeah? Okay, beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, thank you all. Very
Bye.
lovely. Okay,
Bye.
okay,
Thank you.
okay.